Michael was dying. At least, that's what he believed. Every morning he woke up exhausted. Every night he struggled to sleep. His chest felt tight. His head constantly ached. And no matter how many hours he rested, he never felt refreshed. So he did what most people would do. He went to the doctor. Then another doctor. Then another. Yet every test came back with the same answer. You're physically healthy. But if Michael was healthy, why did he feel like he was falling apart? What Michael didn't realize was that the most dangerous thing in his life wasn't a disease. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't another person. It was a voice. A voice that followed him everywhere. A voice that never stopped talking. And a voice he believed without question. Every morning it whispered, "Today will probably go wrong." Every challenge became a disaster. Every mistake became proof he wasn't good enough. Every setback became evidence that life was against him. And the longer he listened, the stronger that voice became. One afternoon, Michael finally received an opportunity he'd been waiting months for. A job interview. The kind of opportunity that could change everything. Most people would have felt excited. Michael felt terrified before the interview even started. His mind had already convinced him he would fail. They won't choose you. You'll embarrass yourself. Someone better will get the job. Why even try? The interview hadn't happened yet, but in Michael's mind, the battle was already lost. Here's what many people never understand. Negative thinking doesn't just affect your mood. It affects your entire body. Your brain cannot always tell the difference between a real threat and a threat you keep imagining. So every fearful thought, every worst case scenario, every moment of self-doubt triggers the same stress response again and again and again. Over time, headaches appear, sleep becomes difficult, anxiety grows stronger, energy disappears, relationships suffer, and life starts shrinking. Not because the world changed, but because your thoughts did. But the most shocking discovery was still ahead. Because Michael was about to learn something that changed his life forever. The voice inside his head was lying to him. That night, Michael lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The room was silent, but his mind wasn't. What if you lose your job? What if everyone discovers you're not good enough? What if tomorrow is even worse than today? The questions came one after another, like waves crashing against the shore. And with every thought, his heart beat a little faster. Here's what Michael didn't know. The human brain is designed to protect you from danger, but it has one weakness. It doesn't always know the difference between a tiger standing in front of you and a disaster you're imagining. To your brain, both can feel like emergencies. So every fearful thought, every imagined failure, every worst case scenario pressed the same alarm button again and again until his body forgot what peace felt like. Weeks turned into months. Michael's body began paying the price. His headaches became more frequent. He lost his appetite. Friends stopped inviting him out, not because they didn't care, but because he always expected the worst. Without realizing it, Michael wasn't just thinking negatively, he was living negatively. Then came the day that seemed to prove every negative thought was right. Michael walked into the interview room. His hands were shaking. His mouth felt dry. The interviewer smiled. But Michael couldn't. He forgot answers he had practiced for weeks. He doubted every word he spoke. And before the interview was over, he had already convinced himself he had failed. When he walked out of the building, he didn't blame the questions. He didn't blame the interviewer. He blamed himself. I knew I wasn't good enough. I knew I'd fail. But for the first time, someone standing nearby heard him say those words. Michael believed the interview had exposed his biggest weakness. He was wrong. It had exposed something far more dangerous. A lie he had been telling himself for years. And the stranger who overheard him was about to ask one question that would change everything. Excuse me. Michael stopped walking. He turned around. The elderly woman from the bench was standing a few steps behind him. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't judging him. She simply looked at him with the kind of eye that had seen both heartbreak and healing. May I ask you one question? Michael nodded quietly. She asked, if someone followed you around all day, speaking to you, the same way you speak to yourself, would you keep them in your life? Michael didn't answer because he already knew the answer. No, he wouldn't for the first time. Michael wasn't arguing with the world. He was confronting the person he'd been listening to for years. Himself. The woman pointed to the reflection. That voice in your head. It sounds like it's protecting you. But it's doing something far more dangerous. It's training your brain to expect failure. Even when success is possible. Every time you say, I can't. I'm not good enough. Nothing ever works out. Your brain starts searching for evidence to prove those words true. Not because they are true, but because you repeated them often enough. Then the woman smiled. Let's try something. She pointed across the street. Tell me everything that's blue. After a minute, she asked. Now, without looking again, tell me everything that was yellow. Michael couldn't. He barely remembered seeing anything yellow. The woman nodded. Exactly. You always find what your mind is trained to look for. If you spend your life searching for reasons, you'll fail. You'll overlook the opportunities standing right in front of you. Michael stood there in silence. His interview hadn't destroyed his future. His negative thinking hadn't started that morning. It had been quietly shaping his decisions, his confidence, his relationships, even his health, for years. And for the first time, he wondered, what if the biggest obstacle in my life wasn't the world? What if it was the story I'd been telling myself? But realizing the problem was only the beginning, because changing the way you think is one of the hardest battles a person can fight. The next morning, Michael would discover that defeating negative thinking isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about learning a habit that can literally reshape your brain. The next morning, nothing looked different. The sun rose as it always had. The traffic was the same. The bills were still waiting on the kitchen table. Michael's problems hadn't disappeared overnight. But something had changed. For the first time in years, he noticed the voice before he believed it. As he got dressed, it whispered, "Today will probably be another terrible day." Michael stopped, took a deep breath, and quietly replied, "Maybe, but maybe not." It didn't sound powerful. It didn't sound heroic. But that single sentence was the first time Michael had challenged the lie instead of surrendering to it. You see, positive thinking isn't pretending life is perfect. It's refusing to let fear write to the ending before the story has even begun. Scientists have discovered something remarkable. Every thought you repeat strengthens a pathway inside your brain. The more you practice fear, the easier fear becomes. But the opposite is also true. The more you practice hope, gratitude, courage, the stronger those pathways become too. The elderly woman had given Michael one simple challenge. Every time a negative thought appears, don't fight it. Question it. Then replace it with 3 true things you're grateful for. At first, it felt strange, almost impossible. But he decided to try. The next negative thought came quickly. You're going to fail. Again. Michael smiled, then answered, maybe, but I've survived every difficult day I've ever faced. I'm learning, and I'm still here. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Michael didn't become a different person overnight. He became a stronger version of the person he already was. He laughed more. He slept better. He called friends he hadn't spoken to in months. He started exercising. He noticed sunsets he used to ignore. Opportunities he once overlooked began appearing everywhere. But the opportunities had always been there. The difference was that Michael could finally see them. Then, one ordinary afternoon, Michael received a phone call. It was the company where he'd failed the interview. What they told him next proved that changing your thoughts doesn't just change your mind. Sometimes it changes your future. Michael stared at the phone. His heart started racing. Just a few weeks earlier, he would have assumed the worst. It's probably bad news. Maybe they called the wrong person. Maybe they're about to tell me I failed. But this time, he caught those thoughts before they caught him. He smiled, took a deep breath, and answered the phone. The voice on the other end said, "Hello, Michael. We'd like to talk about your interview." Michael's stomach tightened. Then the manager continued, "You weren't our first choice." Michael closed his eyes. For a brief moment, the old voice tried to return. "See, I told you." But the manager wasn't finished. "Our first candidate accepted another position. Before making another decision, we reviewed your interview again. This time, we noticed something we almost missed. Your willingness to learn, your honesty, and your determination. If you're still interested, we'd like to offer you the position." Michael accepted the offer. But as he ended the call, he realized something. The greatest victory wasn't getting the job. The greatest victory had happened weeks earlier. It was the day he stopped believing every negative thought that entered his mind. Because if that phone had rung a month before, he might never have answered it. Maybe you're watching this today, feeling trapped by fear, doubting yourself, expecting the worst. If that's you, listen carefully. Your thoughts are powerful, but they are not always truthful. You don't have to believe every voice that speaks inside your mind. Challenge it, replace it, train it. Because the mind that repeats defeat will eventually expect defeat. But the mind that practices hope begins to recognize opportunities that fear could never see. Before you leave, I want you to do one thing today. The next time your mind says, I can't, pause. Ask yourself, is this a fact or just fear talking? If this story encouraged you, subscribe to Echoes of Greatness, because every week we bring you stories that remind you one truth. Your greatest battle is often the one inside your mind, and your greatest victory begins the moment you refuse to surrender to it.